Verbally Effective, your double E, Ina Esco here. Thank you guys so much for tuning in to yet another episode of the Verbally Effective podcast. Today, I got one of my good friends with me who is a finance guru. He's also a podcaster. He sits on a few boards out here in the M-Town. I am talking about Willams D. Brack. What's up, Brack? How you doing?
Ina, I'm doing pretty good. But guru might be a little grandiose, but I'm definitely a finance guy.
That's you.
I've been looking forward to being on Verbally Effective for a year and a half now, and so
Hey.
I'm so happy to join some of the Memphis talent that's been on this podcast.
Yes. Well, I am so glad you agreed to come on today. I know you have an amazing story to tell us. I'm sure so many people are interested in, some of the things they may not know about you with your upbringing and to some of the things that are important to you that we don't know about. So I'm glad we are able to get to know Mr. Brack today. Let's start from the beginning. Where are you from, Brack?
All right, so I'm from 1 hour south of Memphis. I was born in Greenwood, Mississippi, in the Delta.
Yeah.
And I came to Memphis by way of Chicago. So the short version is I did elementary in Greenwood, middle school in Chicago, and then high school in Memphis.
Wow, that's interesting. So tell me about how all of that came about, the transition to Chicago, then coming back this way.
Yeah, so, I think for me, growing up in Greenwood, Mississippi, some of the things one of the major things that you have to know is that Greenwood is is the most poverty-stricken place in the entire United States. And so you don't have very much chance of getting out of Greenwood naturally. Mm-hmm. And so, growing up in that environment, having a couple pair of shirts, washing clothes in the tub, and then have to go to class and do schoolwork, there was a lot of despair. There was some anxiety. There was some sadness, and maybe even some self-esteem issues.
Gotcha.
And so my mother decided she wanted to move to Chicago and gave me the option, whether I wanted to stay in Greenwood with my grandmother or move to Chicago with her. Okay. And this started a very long journey of saying yes to almost everything, gotcha. Right? In my mind, I knew what Greenwood was like. On the other hand, I had no idea what Chicago, Illinois was like. I didn't have any image of it. I didn't see it on TV. Even though I had family up there at the time when I was 12, I was like, I don't know this place, but yes, I want to go. Okay. And so I moved to Chicago with my mother. And originally we lived in a 6-bedroom house with about 24 family members there.
Wow.
Yeah, my great grandmother had 21 children. And she was still the matriarch of the family when I got there at 12. And I was in middle school, but the poverty level didn't change, right?
Gotcha. Yeah.
And so we had all these families in, and we were still just getting by. And so at an early age, I had to become independent. I learned how to cook, I learned how to clean. And in this family, you can kind of get lost. Every family unit, there's like 3 or 4 different family units in there. And each family unit was taking care of its own family unit. Well, my mother had moved out with my grandfather. Well, I stayed in this house. And so ultimately what happened was I was able to look out for myself. I had to make decisions early, what I wanted to eat, how to cook it, when to cook it. If I had homework from school, I had to figure out how to get it done myself. There wasn't much help. And ultimately, my great grandmother passed away. And I asked both of my aunts if I could come live with them for the summer. One lived in Texas and the other lived in Memphis. Mm-hmm. Well, that summer had passed. It was the summer after 8th grade. It had passed. Well, I didn't hear from either one of my aunts. And whatever bad stuff I could call them as a middle schooler, I think I was calling. Then and then that after summer was over, my aunt from Memphis called me and asked me if I wanted to move to Memphis permanently. That was a Sunday, and that was my second yes. by Monday, I was on a Greyhound bus to Memphis.
How old were you?
I was 12. No, I was 13 at the time.
Okay.
I was going into my ninth grade year.
Wow. And so when you got back to Memphis, what happened, Brack? How did things change?
Well, the first immediate impact in Memphis is I didn't play organized sports growing up.
Mm-hmm.
And so my first time actually putting on a football helmet was my freshman year in high school.
Mm-hmm.
And when I was leaving Greenwood, Mississippi, I was throwing the ball in the street with one of my neighbors. And he was like, man, you should play quarterback.
Mm.
When I got to Chicago, I played some flag football, and they asked me what position I played. I said I played quarterback. And so when I got to Memphis and I decided I wanted to join the football team and play, they asked me what position I played. I said quarterback.
Mm.
Other than watching football, I had no idea what a quarterback did. Mm-hmm. So they asked me to throw the ball. I threw it. The coach was like, yeah, you play quarterback.
You the quarterback.
I'm the quarterback. And by the fourth or fifth game of the season, I was playing and starting.
Wow. Well, you caught on pretty quick, right? To that quarterback position. What high school did you go to?
I went to the great illustrious George Washington Carver High School in South Memphis.
Carver, yes. Okay, South Memphis. You got a dose of that South Memphis in your life. Okay, that's a good training ground as well.
Yeah, it is a good training ground. And I met a lot of good people. And a lot of the guys and a lot of people that I met when I first got to Memphis, we're still friends now. I just had a birthday party 2 weeks ago. Mm-hmm. And I could sit around and feel the love of people that I've been friends with 20 plus years.
That's amazing.
A lot of that doesn't happen for a lot of people.
That's
but
true.
All of my friends that I met at Carver, they're all college educated. They're all working and taking care of their families. And I couldn't be prouder of some of the friends that I have right now.
Amazing. So other than football, Brack, what were you into, during your high school years? What were you focused in on?
I was focused in on everything. The theme is I was running away from poverty, honestly. And so I played football. I was a starter my freshman year. I ran track. I also played basketball. I was on the freshman team and made varsity my freshman year. If there was I was Fox News Student of the Week. Okay. There was a Rotary Club opportunity that allowed you to visit prep schools and attend prep schools for the summer. I signed up for that. If there was an essay contest, I was doing that. If there was an opportunity to speak, I was doing that. Anything that allowed me to get out of poverty, I was doing that. And I was the president, ultimately, of this New Lights program that the Memphis Urban League had done in high schools. And that's an important anchor for something later, too.
Okay, gotcha. Okay, so I do know that you are a Morehouse graduate. So while you were at Carver deciding on what college that you wanted to attend, how did we come to that decision? And how did that all play out?
Well, that's a great question, actually, and an interesting journey. So I was scheduled and slated to go to Cornell University out of high school.
Okay.
I was all state in football, all city, all the player of the year for my division. I was also the valedictorian.
What?
No, I take that back. I was a salutatorian. I graduated number 2.
It's okay to be salutatorian. It's okay.
So I was the salutatorian, and I had the highest ACT score at Carver at the time.
Smart. Okay.
And so I didn't have any intentions of going on anywhere but Cornell. I never even looked at
Why were you
any
focused on Cornell?
There was a coach who had the job at Ole Miss. He got the job at Cornell, and from my junior year, he offered me a scholarship. I knew it was Ivy League, and Ivy League gives you a great chance to be successful in life. Mm-hmm. Well, from the 8th grade, all of my teachers and people who cared about me told me one thing. They said, Brack, you're going to be successful in life. Just don't have any kids while you're young. And I heard this in 8th grade. I heard it in 9th. I heard it in 10th. I heard it in 11th. Well, my senior year, my girlfriend told me she was pregnant.
Gotcha.
And so, and it was probably a couple of weeks before I just had to officially sign where I wanted to go to school.
Mm.
And so Cornell was out. It was too far. If anything happened, if I needed to get back in town, I was still poor. I couldn't afford to hop on a flight within a day or two notice and hit to Memphis. And so I started visiting SWAC schools, Jackson State, Grambling. I even visited UT Martin, Tennessee State. And ultimately, I decided to go to Jackson State University, and the school offered me a full academic and a full football scholarship.
Okay.
And so while I was down there, you know, football just didn't work out the way I thought. I had an opportunity to play my freshman year. I showed them enough flash of talent for that. But football is an ever-evolving game. Like, you're always competing, and there's guys that are coming from everywhere.
Yeah.
And we got a recruit from Mississippi State, and the coach called me in and said, "Hey, Brack, you know, we'd like you to challenge for the third string spot."
Mm-hmm.
And that didn't compute in my head. Challenge and third string just don't go together. And so immediately I was looking to leave. I was like, I need to go somewhere. And I looked at a couple of schools, and I was originally slated to go to Miles. I had my bags packed and ready to go. Mm-hmm. Apparently the head coach at Jackson State, Rick Comedy, hadn't heard anything about this at the time. And right before I was scheduled to leave, he called me and said, "Hey, look, we cannot win a championship without you." Mm. And I was like, "Word?" He was like, "Yeah, we need you to stay at least for this season."
Okay.
I did not play a single down.
What?
As a matter of fact, I didn't even put the uniform on that season.
What?
All I did was practice. And so my job was to get our starting defense ready to play the opposing team. Mm. And you know what? We won a championship that year.
Okay.
So between that season, there was a coach who recruited me to come to Lane, Rich Freeman. Mm-hmm. He got a job at Morehouse. Mm. And he heard that I was interested in leaving Jackson State, and he called me. And he said, "Look, I want you to come to Morehouse. I think you're a pretty good quarterback, and we want you." I had never heard of Morehouse. Other than seeing it on Boys in the Hood. Uh-huh. I didn't know the history of Morehouse, didn't know the importance of it. But what I did know is that Atlanta was a major metropolitan city, and it was a lot of fun. Okay. And so he told me Morehouse is in Atlanta. I said, "I don't know what this Morehouse is, but I definitely want to get to Atlanta."
Right. Wow.
And so I got to Morehouse through that, and it was a eye-opening experience at Morehouse.
I'm sure it was, but you know what? Before we get into Morehouse, it sounds like, you know, all of the transition that you were going through was steadily developing your leadership skills as well. So you get to Morehouse, and it also, what I'm hearing is you stayed on an HBCU route, like HBCU. So now you're at Morehouse. Tell me about how that whole experience was, Brack.
Well, you know, the immediate thing that stood out to me about Morehouse is, you know, I visited Jackson State, I visited Grambling, TSU, and if you see somebody in a suit on those campuses, either they were Kappas or they were business majors. Mm-hmm. So you get to Morehouse and you see young men wearing suits just because they like them, just because they look good or they might be a dandy. And I grew up in all Black neighborhoods my entire life, went to all Black schools my entire life. And I thought Black people were either one of two ways. They were a little hood or they were a little bougie. Okay. That was it.
No in between.
So, no in between. So I get to Morehouse and I meet young men who are intellectuals. I meet guys who are goth. I meet skaters. I meet preppies. I meet rich Black kids. I meet mixed kids, some that are, you know, all different kind of personalities. I meet your future lawyers, your politicians. I see the range of Black people, not just from color, but from intellectual capacity and personality. Mm-hmm. And it just made me want to strive to be more than just those two types that I saw.
Definitely. And your major was finance, correct?
So at Jackson State, I was international finance. Okay. I wanted to see the world. I wanted the exact opposite from this small little bubble of Greenwood. I was like, there's a big world out there. I don't know how I'm gonna see it, but I'm gonna do international finance. But at Morehouse, they didn't have international finance. They just had a finance major.
Mm-hmm.
And so I majored in finance. I had all my core classes completed. And a lot of people get taken aback that Morehouse is all male and all Black.
Mm-hmm.
Well, in my view, Spelman is right across the street.
Right across the street.
Clark has an intersection. They're right next door to Spelman and Morehouse. We all share a library, and on the other side of that library is Morris Brown. 5 minutes away is Georgia State. 7 minutes away is Georgia Tech. And then you had an all-girls school, Agnes Scott, Macon State. I mean, from a college perspective, Atlanta is just it.
Yeah.
If you're going to college in the South, Atlanta is one of the best places you can be. Now, in the meantime, I went to Morehouse for football. Mm-hmm. And I thought I was pretty much a shoe-in to be the quarterback. Well, after the summer after the spring and after the summer, I started my first year at Morehouse, 4th string on the depth chart.
4th string?
4th string.
That's not what you were expecting.
It was humbling, but life has taught me anything is to roll up your sleeves and continue to work. Mm-hmm. And that's what I did. And slowly but surely, I went from 4th string to 3rd string to 2nd. And my first game ever starting was a homecoming game.
Oh, really?
Right. So a lot of pressure for a first start. And we played Albany State. Mm-hmm. And my first game, I threw for 3 touchdowns, almost 260 yards. And we beat Albany State for the first time in almost 20 years.
Oh, wow. What an experience, Brack. I know you thought you was the man, didn't you?
Feeling like the man when I walked through. You know what I mean? And those last 3 games that I started, and I just went on an absolute rampage and ended the season. My last game, I scored 6 total touchdowns, 350 some yards. And that movie moment when you score a game winner and the entire team piles on top of you, I had that moment. And so that was pretty special.
Unforgettable. At the homecoming game too.
Well, that was senior day, but ultimately I decided on my career path, and that career path was that I wanted to be a financial advisor. I wanted to learn about the money that I didn't have growing up, find out and discover the tools necessary to grow wealth, and teach people how to grow their wealth using the tools and things that I would ultimately learn about.
Wow. So when you graduated Morehouse, Brack, what happened immediately after you graduated? What was next? What did you have your mind set on at that point? I know you wanted to be in finance, but what actually happened at that point upon graduation?
Well, I had to figure out, I wanted to be in business, and financial planning was going to be my business. And so in order to do business, you need nice clothes. You need suits, you need shirts, you need ties. I couldn't call home and ask for that. And so what I did was, in between the seasons, I hustled up on a job at Brooks Brothers.
Oh, that was a good thing to do.
Strategy, right? And so
yes. Got that wardrobe together.
Get the wardrobe together, because my boy Sam Nelson says, if you look like money, they'll give it to you.
Yep.
And so I hustled up on a job at Brooks Brothers. It took me about 3 months visiting the manager, talking about working there and stuff like that. And we got 50 to 60% discount. And I was able to build my professional wardrobe.
Gotcha.
Well, one day when I was at work, I overheard some guys talking about this financial company that they were working for. This was the summer before I graduated. And they were talking about this company called Northwestern Mutual. Mm-hmm. And I asked them a few questions about it, Googled it, and called them up and told them I wanted an internship. That was about 9 o'clock that morning. And they asked me when I can come in. I said, hey, I can be there at 10:30 if you want.
Okay.
It was like 10:30 is a little soon. Can you come tomorrow at 4? You
was ready.
I was ready. Once opportunities present themselves to you, you have to take action, or else, you get left behind.
Definitely.
And so I did my internship at Northwestern Mutual. It went well enough for me to continue doing it during my last semester of school. And the moment the day school was over, the next day, I was working at Northwestern Mutual, learning about the sales and financial planning process and just kind of took off from there.
Wow. So at Northwestern Mutual, I'm pretty sure that was kind of like your entry into the corporate side of some of these things that you've been wanting to learn, to get that foundation, right? And let's fast forward to what you're doing now, Brack. You are the vice president and community development manager for Regions Bank for not only West Tennessee, but for Arkansas as well. So tell me about that role and tell me more about the Community Reinvestment Act. Tell me about all of that.
Yeah, absolutely. And so my job as vice president and community development manager for West Tennessee and Arkansas is informed by the Community Reinvestment Act. And it's the federal legislation. When I put it simply, is that banks have branches and they accept deposits in a lot of communities. That law says that they should be doing business in that community as well. Mm-hmm. So there's no taking money from South Memphis and only doing business in Germantown. If you're taking deposits from South Memphis, you need to provide services for South Memphis. And so simply put, how I tell people, how I describe my job is two ways. One, my job is to identify the community development needs. And the second thing I need to do is respond to those needs using Regions' finite resources. Nearly every bank has my role. And the way I kind of meet those and respond to those needs is through four ways. One, my job is to make sure Regions is lending money in the communities. So if you take deposits at South Memphis, we need to serve South Memphis. And particularly, I focus on the low and moderate income community. And that definition shifts from city to city to city to city. And in Memphis, I think the median income that I work with is $67,500. And most people are like, what? It doesn't feel like that. But I use a federal website called the FFEIC, and that's what it says it is. And I work with people 80% and below of that, or organizations that serve that particular population.
Gotcha.
And so it's four categories. Loans is one, and it's to make sure that we're lending money in low and moderate income communities. Investments are another. So that may look like investing in affordable housing projects or investing in private developers or nonprofits that need an equity stake. The third is grants to organizations that like to do financial wellness, that serve that low or moderate income community through wellness. If the issue in the community is poverty and affordable housing, the things that the organizations that I donate money to need to address poverty and affordable housing. And then the last thing that I do is direct my Regions teammates to volunteer and spend time in the communities that we do business in. And so that may look like sitting on boards, or that just may look like holding a financial wellness seminar, or that may look like just volunteering some time with organizations like Habitat for Humanity or the United Way.
Busy fellow you. You know what? In Memphis, when you think about Memphis, we have always known Memphis to be, if it's not number one in poverty, we're number two. So with that being said, I know you busy in this particular role. There's a lot to do within this particular role, right? What are some of the investment opportunities that you've had that you are most proud of in this particular role, Brack?
So I'm new in this role. I just started this in December.
Oh, okay, congratulations.
Well, thank you. And so I've been adjacent to the organizations and the nonprofits, but now I get an opportunity to do a deep dive. Mm-hmm. Before I did this role, I was a commercial lender. So companies that made 25 million in revenue up to $500 million. My job was to help advise and strategize with them on the best ways to not only structure their company's finances, but structure them in a way that allows them to grow properly. Mm-hmm. And so some of the things that I'm actually working on is addressing the affordable housing issue. And in my worldview, income is the number one way to get people out of poverty. And the way to create that income, in my worldview, people may approach it different, is through small business creation and startup. And so a lot of the initiatives that I'm focused on in particular will address the people's ability to not only start a business, but to also grow their businesses. And two, get people in homes. You know, home ownership is a tremendous key to wealth creation and poverty elimination. And so we inked an initiative with Converge Memphis, which is an initiative with the Mortgage Bankers Association. And they're focused on allocating money, increasing or increasing home ownership in the Black community and low and income community by 5% over the next 5 years. So that will be huge. And in addition to that, we did a project in the medical district to promote housing and jobs in the medical district. And so those are two major initiatives that I've supported or been a part of since I've started my role.
Awesome. Now, you know, with this pandemic still in play, right? So many people have become unemployed during this pandemic. There have been a lot of opportunities for people that especially are business owners, small business owners, to get assistance, whether it's grants, whether it's loans from the government. My particular multimedia company, I was able to get a grant from the state as well. I'm also seeing emails go out now saying, hey, if you got a loan before, you can get you some more money. Let's increase your credit lines. So I'm like, I don't need none of that. But what do you have to say about some of these, I guess, opportunities from the government? Should people take advantage of those that have small businesses or their sights set on starting these companies? What do you think about that?
What I think is that if you have a proper and legitimate business, you should take advantage of these opportunities. Understand that one of the people or organizations that you never want to get cross with is the federal government and the IRS.
They watching you.
So if there's an opportunity, your business is legitimate and you want to do the right thing, by all means, take advantage of all the support and the grants that are out there. And the most important thing you need to do is document everything, especially as it pertains to the federal government's money.
Yeah.
Because even though it's forgivable, even though it's a grant, they may change their mind. Things shift, and you need a record of everything.
Yeah.
And so one of the things I wanted to address, you mentioned line of credit and debt, is people need help understanding that there's a difference between personal debt and business debt.
Yes.
Right. We'll use personal debt and credit cards to buy the things we like, clothes, shoes, trips, things of that nature. But business debt is critical to growth. It should only be used to drive things that will also create more revenue. Right. You borrow money to purchase some equipment, and that equipment will allow you to make more sales.
Right.
You borrow money to buy more inventory. That inventory should allow you to make more sales.
Right.
You borrow money in order to hire people, because the person you hire will allow you to make more sales. So typically when you're using debt in a business, that debt should allow you to drive more sales and drive more revenue. If it doesn't, it's an awful use of debt.
Okay. Wow. Yeah, because we're seeing, you know, a lot of headlines of people misusing these funds that they have been given. And when I start seeing those emails go out about increasing your line of credit and get more of this loan, I'm like, I hope people have become smarter and have really dug into some of these stories that are out there, giving you a warning sign to do the right thing. So yeah, that's been very interesting to me. What's also interesting to me in the finance world, I want to hit on this cryptocurrency. I have friends, I have a brother who trades, right? They're definitely into trading, and they deal with cryptocurrency. They deal with shorts, just the whole dynamic of this whole trading world. What are your thoughts on cryptocurrency? Is this the future? Is the dollar going away for real? Should we be getting some of this Bitcoin? What's going on? XRP, tell me what you think. Do you trade, Brack?
I used to trade. I'm about to get back in. I have a friend who his enthusiasm and passion combined with the price point of XRP has me greatly considering purchasing some cryptocurrency.
Me too.
But in general, I'm no fan.
It's so up and down and volatile.
For me, it's just based on a false premise. Mm-hmm. You want to buy Bitcoin because it's replacing the dollar. But the only way today to convert, but it's actually backed by the dollar.
Wow.
And so I'm buying something based on something that's going to be replaced. If you think the dollar is going away, if you love Bitcoin so much, go out and spend it right now. Right? Get your nails done with Bitcoin. Mm-hmm. If it's a currency, right? Get your nails done with Bitcoin. Pay your employees in Bitcoin, buy a car in Bitcoin. At the point where you can actually use your currency, the dollar, I can use all across the United States and across the world. The euro, I can use in Europe. The yuan, I can use in China. If it's a currency, I should be able to purchase things in my day-to-day life. And if you tell me Bitcoin will replace the dollar, but also Bitcoin is backed by and can be converted into the dollar, to me, that doesn't make sense.
Right.
Now, if Bitcoin said it's going to be an additional currency, a currency in addition to the dollar, that starts to make sense. But if you want to invest in Bitcoin because it's replacing the dollar, that's a false premise on why you should buy Bitcoin or any other cryptocurrency.
Wow, this is so interesting to me. This whole, the dollar may go away and everything is digital currency. Like, is that really true? Like, from what you just told me, I'm still keeping my cash. Cash is king still, right?
Well, the dollar is already a digital currency. Okay. Some people don't use cash at all. Credit card, debit card, and bank transfer. If you get direct deposit, and you go swipe your card to buy things, is that not all digital?
That's true. Digital. That's true.
Right. Every now and again, you need cash to do things. Or if you go to certain areas of the country that are still cash dependent, cash is still relevant.
Yeah.
But the dollar is already digital per se.
Yeah. Wow.
and so I don't know how a Bitcoin could replace something that's critically important, not only to the United States economy, but the world. The government would never allow that to happen. What they'll do is co-opt it and call it another form of currency that we can use.
Right. Because I have noticed that dealing with this cryptocurrency, I've noticed the government step in numerous times and change laws. Right as you're making deals, it's like, wow, like they can do that.
Yeah, the government can do it. The government can do whatever they want to do. The goal is to protect the economy. If cryptocurrency and Bitcoin becomes a threat, it's the government's imperative to either stop it or figure out a way to legitimize it and bring it into the system.
Right.
And I'm seeing signs and evidence that that's actually happened. So a year ago, 2 years ago, I would have been 1,000% against cryptocurrency and Bitcoin. But major institutions, money center banks like JP Morgan, organizations like Tesla are starting to accept Bitcoin, and important people in the financial ecosystem are starting to accept, utilize, and understand things like Bitcoin. And that's why the price this time has gone up instead of it going up from hype and people overbuying it.
Interesting. Well, look, if you finally make that decision to jump into XRP, you call me, you let me know, and we're gonna do this thing together. Like, I need some guidance.
I'll let you know. My friend called me and he was like, "Man, look, you stupid right now. I
you
just
need to
made
jump
22."
in.
He said, "No, he didn't say that because he know I don't listen to stuff like that."
Okay.
He spoke my love language. He said, "Man, I just made $22,000 today."
See, that's what I'm talking about. That's what I'm talking about right there. Look.
And not only that, he showed me the statement.
See, but I know, like nothing is promised in that game, but you have to do your research and you have to watch it. Like, seriously, if you into it, you got to be into it. Like, it's not anything that you could play about with this. Because you can lose your
Well,
money. Just like he got 22K, he could lose 22K.
well, my number one rule in investing is never invest money you're not willing to lose.
Yeah.
And the second thing I tell people is if someone uses the G word towards you, you need to run in the opposite direction as fast as possible, because nothing is guaranteed. No one can guarantee you any type of return. Every single person has done that. The greatest example being Bernie Madoff, guaranteeing people 8% annually every year. They're all in prison.
Yeah.
Everybody who guaranteed anything stole money.
Mm-hmm. Wow. And you know what? They were getting over for forever. They was getting over, but everybody, the government was watching them that whole time, honey.
The whole time. If people are getting, there's no such thing. The market is so volatile. Things change so quickly. Information is processed on a daily basis. You can't guarantee anything, and you can't depend on guarantees, or you'll be greatly, greatly, greatly disappointed.
For real. Seriously. Wow. That's so interesting to me. Brack, let's talk about podcasting, because you are out here with 2 podcasts co-hosting the Grindset podcast, which is a podcast that you, along with Cynthia Daniels, host, that focuses on women entrepreneurs, and also Sell and Fail. Let's start with Grindset. How did that all come about, Brack? Tell me about it. And why you jump in that podcasting game?
Well, first and foremost, I have to give a shout out to Larry Robinson and Kazukian Network. I've seen the growth of podcasting through the eyes of Kazukian and what's possible. And I actually met Larry when I was working at a different bank. Mm-hmm. And we were just having financial conversation about his business, and I gave him some advice that he came to like, respect, and use in his growth. And so he says to me, "Hey, we need to do a podcast about finances one day. I don't know when, but when the opportunity comes up, I want you to be a part of something." And so I think Epicenter was looking to promote the business community here in Memphis. Mm-hmm. And they partnered with Kazukian to do that. And Cynthia Daniels and I, who is a powerhouse here in Memphis with Black Restaurant Week, 40 Under 40, Urban Elite, and just so many other things. She's since gone national. And so, in this co-hosting agreement, I'm the lucky one to be partnered with Cynthia. And so I get to sit around and I wrote a vision for myself. I like to spend time with smart people who are doing great things. Mm-hmm. And every 2 weeks, I get to interview a fantastic Memphis business owner who are just crushing it. Yeah. And then the ones who aren't crushing it have fantastic stories to share and lessons that are extremely important for aspiring entrepreneurs. Mm-hmm. But the most important thing after 60 plus episodes and 2 years in the game at this point is that, Memphis is investable. Memphis is an environment in which we can do really good business in. And all these entrepreneurs that are crushing it here are evidence of that.
Yes. Who have been some of your favorite female entrepreneurs from Grindset?
I'm going to say this at the risk of alienating some of my other guests. But my very first episode with Andrew Sowell of the Bubble Bistro.
Yes, that's
Andrew
my
Johnson. Oh man, and you're talking about a mix of a really good business, financial savvy, and a rabid customer base. Yeah. She mentors so many other different business owners as well. Yes. Another one is Edith Kelly Green, and the work that she's done of coming from FedEx and taking that money and getting into the franchise space as well has been a powerful story. And then Nubian Simmons of the Pink Bakery. Okay. I like people's journey whose businesses are informed off of personal need. Mm-hmm. She has all these food allergies, and so she started a bakery that allows other people with food allergies to be able to enjoy things like birthdays and celebrations and parties. And it's such a tremendously good business. And oh, by the way, I don't have any allergies, and I like the brownies. So
they still do.
and,
Wow.
and as you can imagine, through 60 episodes, there's just so many others to name. And I just
Yeah.
encourage people, if you have Spotify, you can check us out, Apple Podcasts, Google Play. We're on every single platform that you can imagine, and you should check out some of those stories.
Definitely. Grindset. And now you and my good friend Sam Benson has started another podcast called Sell or Fail. And I remember talking with you at one of the Pod Box events. You were saying that you were going to do another podcast, but I think you had another name for it. But here we are today with Sell or Fail. Tell me about Sell or Fail podcast.
Yeah, absolutely. So I co-host Sell or Fail with my good friend Samuel Nelson. He owns Massage on the Go, which is a national massage business. But most importantly, he's been in sales just like me my entire life. And so I met Sam at a networking event. But ultimately, Cynthia and I had Sam on the Grindset podcast. And the chemistry was just so good. We hit it off so much that Larry was listening to the episode and he was like, look, you and Sam should do a podcast. I don't care what it is. I don't know what the subject matter is, but you and him have great energy together. And so Sam and I started working out at the gym every morning at 5 a.m. And so we were building chemistry, trying to talk through different podcast subjects. And one, I think the one that I presented at Podbox, which is a great event, and I'm looking forward to Podbox number 3.
It may be virtual.
So the first one was since we both came from the hood and now we're in business, was from the corner to corporations.
Yes,
right?
Yes. I like that name. I like
well, it. I'm no longer connected to the streets, and I wouldn't have been able to find any guests in that. And so I had to think about, everything needs to be personalized. What is it about you that you've developed over time that you're able to share in the podcast? And for both of us, we've been selling for a long time. Since before we started corporate selling, we were buying things from the store, selling them in the school, in the school, selling the kids. Sam was buying Gucci material.
Right. I was
selling it.
What? When he told me that on the pod, I said, okay, you was boosted. You was selling everything.
Selling everything. And so for me, I started my career off doing some Spartan type sales. Financial planning is 100% commission. And if people don't buy for you, you don't eat.
Right.
And so when you learn in that environment, I've done sales that 100% commission. I've done business to business sales. I've done personal sales. Now I'm in banking, and I've done all kind of sales opportunities. And so it's Sam. So we got together, and the ethos is that every single person in this world is in sales. Either you're selling your kids on what you need to eat, what they need to eat. You're selling your spouse on where you want to go, the dinner or vacation or things like that. If you're a teacher, you're selling students on why they should be, why they should take this lesson and learn this information. And of course, if you're an entrepreneur, you have to sell or you die or fail. If you're in corporation and you're in a selling perspective, you need to sell in order to meet your lifestyle and livelihood. And so, A type or B, corporate or entrepreneur, we're all in sales.
Yes, that is so true. That is so true. So everybody can hear Sell or Fail podcasts with you and Sam, and also Grindset on all platforms, correct?
On all platforms, so Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Pandora, if you use that. And if you don't use any of those platforms, you can always go on to kazukian.com and locate Grindset or Sell or Fail.
Gotcha. You know what, Brack? I wanted to hit on some of the trending topics that are going on right now before we close. One being the death of DMX. Now, I don't know how big of a hip hop fan you are, but I remember, just in college listening to DMX and even getting into radio my senior year in college. And I remember we would play Party Up like every hour on the hour. It was ingrained in my mind. Are you a DMX fan?
Of course, I'm a DMX fan. And in them early 2000s, I was kind of young and I was rapping DMX hard and didn't understand what it is that he was even saying.
Yeah.
One of the songs is, "What do these young ladies want from a gentleman?"
Yeah,
When
that's the song. What they really want from I played that on
I mean,
my day. Yes.
major hits, and DMX was the first one who kind of connected the streets to the spirituality piece of it.
You're right.
Right?
You're right.
His prayers, he normalized praying.
Mm-hmm.
You can be hard, but you can also pray. And
Yes.
so DMX kind of drove that home for me and a lot of my friends. But besides that, the music was bumping.
Yes, definitely, definitely. I mean, phenomenal artist. Like you said, he connected that spirituality piece. And you know what? Like when he prayed, you know how when some people pray, you could just feel it. Like, oh, he's saying a word to me. Like it's really resonating with me. He was just one of those type of individuals, and he impacted so many people. So we definitely lost a legend with DMX. I thought you were a DMX fan. Something else trending in the news with this vaccine, right? Everybody's talking about the vaccine. Johnson and Johnson, they've come out to say that they're pausing on the distribution because it's causing blood clots. Now, I'm gonna be honest with you. I've been sitting and waiting. I haven't taken the vaccine. I just have some apprehension with them. Like I just feel like I don't feel like it's been out on trial long enough. And
Mm.
everybody that's my friends that have been taking it, I'm like, I'm just sitting watching you see how you feel today. And so
To
now
see if they
this
grow an extra
news,
arm or an extra head or something. Okay, yeah.
look, I'm so for real. And so now we got Johnson and Johnson pulling back because 6 women, now specifically women, have been affected with blood clotting in the lungs. And I'm like, specifically women, like, why is it targeting women? Okay, I'm scared. What do you think
Yeah.
about this whole issue with Johnson and Johnson vaccine? And what are your thoughts on the vaccination, Brett?
Well, look, as far as Johnson and Johnson concerned, my personal ethos is one life lost is too many. And so if you need to pause Johnson and Johnson and figure out what's going on, because the purpose of the vaccine is to save lives, let's do that. Now, I have friends who will argue that 6 lives out of 6.8 million is insignificant, but not to those 6 families,
No.
not to the 6 people that have been affected. And I'm a capitalist, um, mixed with a form of activism. And so if the vaccines are safe and it allows people to be able to take care of their families, I'm for it.
Mhm.
I haven't taken a vaccine yet. I'm far down the line. I'm young, I'm healthy. There are people who are older, there are people with pre-existing conditions, there are people adjacent to people who are older and with pre-existing conditions, and I'm far, far, far down the line. But whatever is necessary for people to be able to take care of their families, I'm definitely for people doing.
Definitely, because a lot of people that have had reservations, they have since taken the vaccine and seem to be doing fine. But this news was rather alarming to me with Johnson and
Well,
Johnson.
well,
Wow.
if you're a woman and you're hearing that this vaccine is giving women, in particular, blood clots, I'd be scared too.
Yes, yes. Well, you know
Um,
what, Brack, I have really enjoyed you today on the Verbally Effective podcast. We've learned so much about this Greenwood, Mississippi native today. And, you keep crushing it out here in this financial world. I know you also sit as a board member and treasurer with the Downtown Memphis Commission. Tell me about that before we go.
oh yeah, so the Downtown Memphis Commission, they have 2 goals. One is to increase the business activity in downtown and thriving businesses, and to increase the population of downtown. We're the economic engine and the strategy organization over downtown to make sure that to make sure that downtown is for everybody. Most downtowns in every city are kind of the epicenter of activity, and Memphis is no different. And so you have apartment complexes and things coming up. You have small businesses moving, hotels are thriving. And so the Downtown Memphis Commission Board, which I am the new treasurer of as of last month, strategizes on the best way to serve that. And so in addition, we have separate kind of sister organizations that do pilots, that focuses on pilots for the downtown area. We have an organization that focuses on mobility for the downtown area. And most importantly, especially in this COVID time, we have an organization that's focused on providing grants to small businesses and other organizations in the downtown area, which is the expanded area is between the parkways. And the smaller area is between the South City up to Mud Island.
Wow. Okay. So you know what, with your experience being on the board now, one would think you would have a lot of insight on, especially being in a pandemic, some of the openings, how close are we getting back to normal in the downtown Memphis area? And if you look at social media, you would think a pandemic didn't been here and gone. Like things look like they are wide open, right? But I'm sure there are still restrictions. Are these some of the things that you all talk about within the board as well?
We do. Definitely safety is the number one key. How can we get back to business? Because there are people who own and operate these businesses. There are people who work at these businesses who have families to provide for. Mm-hmm. And so safety is the number one issue. How do we make sure we safely get downtown running back again? And so the vaccines, like we mentioned earlier, play a big part of it. Figuring out ways to support these businesses in the meantime with grant and services and opportunities, and as well as communicating with the public that things are safe, that businesses in downtown have the protocols in place where you can come out and enjoy yourself and have a good time. Look, I was just out 2 weekends ago celebrating my birthday. I was also out on Beale Street last weekend, and I felt safer than ever.
Beale Street back open.
Beale Street is back open for those who want to know.
You probably like, Beale Street been back open, girl. Where you been?
I didn't want to say that, but Beale Street is definitely back open.
But downtown is such a big part of a lot of people's entertainment in the city of Memphis. A lot of us, we miss going downtown and going to some of the businesses and Beale Streets and things of that nature. So I'm glad to know that you gave me the 411, Brack.
People have cabin fever and are ready to get out and have some safe fun where possible. I was on Riverside Drive as well, and it was packed. The weather's turning, it's nice out, and people want to go out and not only enjoy downtown Memphis, but every part of Memphis from Shelby Farms down to Midtown. So true. Like
you said, we suffering from cabin fever. We ready to go. Didn't that weather right too? Yes. Woo. Thanks for that insight, Brack. And thank you so much for being my guest today on the Verbally Effective podcast. I wish you nothing but the best in your endeavors, and you keep on grinding it out. And don't forget to let me know about, this opportunity with them financial markets. If you dive in, give me a call, okay?
I'll definitely give you a call, and I'm looking forward to seeing Verbally Effective at South by Southwest too. I am too. Thank you so much, Brack. You are amazing. I enjoyed your story, and thank you once again for joining the Verbally Effective podcast today. Thank you, Anna. Take care.